Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Up Your Alley. It's the podcast where two best friends, that's me, my name is Taylor Edgar, and with me as always is Jake Baggett. Say hey, Jake.
Hello.
We've been friends for a long time, and we like to recommend things to each other, and the next week we come back, discuss them, what we liked, what we didn't like, little insights that we might have had. Then we give each other a score. The score right now is 36 for me, 35 for Jake.
Nice and close.
Neck and neck. You get 1 to 3 points, depending on how much the other person likes the thing. How much it is up their proverbial alley. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting better at the
recommendation.
At the introduction.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying hard. I should write it down at some point.
No, it's feeling natural. That's the one you want.
But before we get into what we're talking about this week, which is a YouTube video by the YouTuber Grimbeard, where he's discussing the video game Deus Ex, and also an episode of the podcast Camp Gagnon with host Mark Gagnon interviewing freediver William Trubridge.
Yeah.
But first, we're going to talk about some stuff that we got into this last week. Jake, you watched we're recording this on Tuesday, March 7th. Saturday night was Chris Rock did a stand-up special.
Yeah.
Live.
Right.
On Netflix.
Right.
Yeah. So you didn't watch it live?
No, I watched it today.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was interested, I suppose, because the slap was very funny.
The slap where Will Smith slapped him at the Oscars.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
And I was just like...
Curious.
I was like, well, he's going to say something.
Has to.
So I watched it for 57 minutes, and he didn't say anything about it, and then I stopped.
Oh, so...
Yeah, I didn't watch the whole thing.
It's literally...
I was right there.
You were right there, buddy.
I was reading an article about it, and they're like, at the 60-minute mark, he starts talking about it. So I just missed it. But
did you want to go back and watch it, or you're like, no,
I couldn't sit through the first hour. It wasn't even that funny to me. Did you enjoy it?
See, okay, so I'm of two minds about this. One, I'm a huge Chris Rock fan.
Yeah, me too.
I remember at one point my dad was up here, and I think I was in high school. And we were staying in a hotel, and Chris Rock had one of his specials on HBO. I forget which one that was. Let me look it up real quick.
So
it came out, and I was just remember sitting and watching it with my dad, and it was just one of those things where I'm like, oh, this is comedy, because I had seen earlier Chris Rock, but it's never been something that I like sat down and watched with an adult. Like it was always like me sneaking, because I like Chris Rock.
Yeah,
I remember him. He's right in my wheelhouse for early Saturday Night Live. He was in Beverly Hills Ninja, and a couple other movies.
Yeah,
so I've always liked Chris Rock.
He's funny. He's got funny movies. He does have really great stand-up.
Yeah, it was a 2004 special, Never Scared.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what did you think of this one?
This one, it was fine. Like I don't think it was anything groundbreaking. It was really good Chris Rock comedy. If you like Chris Rock, you'll like this. He's getting older, and it shows.
Yeah. That's something that I noticed.
Well, a lot of his stuff, like his Bring the Pain and Bigger and Blacker, are two amazing specials. Those are like the ones he did in the 90s, his early HBO specials. And that's when he had a lot to be upset and angry about. And I think that's something where a lot of comedians lose a step, is because they have less to be angry about.
Yeah.
I mean...
Because he's a multimillionaire.
Right. So either you can go complaining about things that most people can't relate to, or you have to go to things that are in the cultural ethos.
And I think he went to both, and neither one of them he was very interesting in.
Well, and it's hard to have...
Of course, he's against wokeness, because people have opinions about what he did with the slap, and he's like...
Well, that's
the cancel culture's coming after me type person.
He was getting it from both sides for the slap, but also he's 58 years old.
He could have spun it much
either
better.
Way. Yeah,
and he went on like a 2-minute rant about Elon Musk getting his dick sucked all the time.
Yeah,
it's like, come on, dude.
Yeah,
be relatable somewhat.
And I think he did a great job, and as a performer, and again, like nothing against Chris Rock, his body of work I think speaks for itself.
Yeah. It
wasn't my favorite one of his specials, but the fact that Netflix was able to do it live, which I watched it live.
Yeah.
Without a hitch, streaming it. And even, I don't have the best internet out here. Mm-hmm. No buffering, no nothing. And it was shocking to me that Netflix, I don't know how many people watched it live. Netflix never really releases their numbers. It's just kind of like they keep it all in-house for their own algorithm and what movie they're going to make next.
Yeah. Whatever stupid decisions they make, like getting rid of Arrested Development.
We talked about this last week. Are you still upset about
saying.
All right.
Who we got Chris Rock live. We're losing Arrested
The fact that they
Development.
did it live is, I think what they did it live is, I think what they want to do is, and this is coming from someone with zero industry experience, it's just how I think it'll work, is if they could do it with Chris Rock, then they might do more events like that. Maybe even might even do it into a pay-per-view thing.
Ugh.
Where it's just like, you don't have to have a Netflix account, but this band's doing a live concert and you can watch it, or sports events, like you said. Like,
I would think getting into sports would be a good move.
Yeah. I mean, if Netflix had a thing where it's like, hey, I don't live in an area where they broadcast my Atlanta Braves, unless they're playing the Nationals, then they'll be on TV. But if Netflix got the rights somehow and they're like, hey, if you want to pay $40 a year, you can stream all the Atlanta Braves games.
I was thinking,
100%, I'd do that.
Pay-per-view fights, like MMA or boxing or something like that. They can have like a sponsored event with Netflix,
or find like an up and coming sport. It's like Netflix is your place for pickleball, or something like that.
Highlight is making a big cultural impact now.
Highlight is crazy to watch.
I would not play that at all.
It's like the fastest a human can launch a projectile.
Yeah,
without a club or something like that.
And you have to stand in front of it.
Yes.
It's just
It's insanity.
That thing goes at like 100 miles per hour.
Well, I'll cross that off my recommendations for you. I'm not going to recommend you and I go down to Miami to the highlight courts.
There's no way I could play that game.
But yeah, I think Chris Rock, it was fine. I think it was good.
I didn't even think. It was like he wasn't even trying. He wasn't good at all to me.
Here's the thing about it. I will say, for criticism's sake, I can't tell you one of the jokes.
Yeah.
I remember him talking about Will Smith at the end, and I remember laughing about some things, but it's not like single, like, oh, that was really funny. Like
exactly. The whole thing, it wasn't a joke. He wasn't saying any jokes. It was just relatability stuff that I didn't relate to, and that's what, people are upset with the wokeness idea that's going around. So when he's like, ooh, the wokeness crowd is around, and everybody's like, haha, yeah, I can understand what he's talking about. And that was mostly what he was doing.
Yeah.
When he used to do jokes, and I was looking forward to some of those. Yeah,
and I will say that's kind of it's an effective age, like we talked about.
I guess so.
Yeah.
But also, like...
And also, everyone's already made the anti-woke jokes.
Exactly.
And I think people have done it with better and fresher takes. Like, I think on his most recent live special, kind of the same era as Chris Rock, is Bill Burr. He did some jokes about that whole thing, but he did it with his own Bill Burr flair, which I think... Bill Burr lends a lot better to complaining than Chris Rock does, I think.
Oh, yeah. Because he makes it, if it's not relatable, he makes it look like he's an asshole.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just the Boston accent. He's a believable asshole.
Yeah. And Chris Rock, he went on a bit about O.J. Simpson.
Yeah.
He went...
Yeah, and then he pulled it in the Kardashians, and I feel like that premise has been done before, too. I'm like,
He went on a rant, not even a rant, he went on his next bit about dating 25-year-olds.
Which is weird, because on one of Rogan's specials, he did a O.J. Simpson Kardashian bit that was similar to that, and Joe Rogan and Chris Rock are friends. Like, they've both performed with Dave Chappelle and stuff, and I'm like, yes, maybe it's just, I think if you're trying to go for national premises,
I think
it's hard to have a fresh take, which is why I really like joke writers.
Yeah.
Like, are you familiar with Mark Normand?
No, I don't think so.
Great comedian. He's just a joke writer. Setup, punchline.
Yeah.
Really funny.
Yeah,
like
Mitch
if you
Hedberg.
Hedberg's a genius.
Yeah, he's going to be a great comedian.
Right.
Timeless. He's timeless.
And I think there's something to be said for the type of comedy that does stay out of national politics and stuff.
And when you do something like that, like get into national politics, you just kind of have to choose a side and also make it the side that the majority is on.
You know who did it perfectly? Is one of my favorites and one of the best comedians working, John Mulaney, who was his first couple albums and specials. He was very not political, didn't do anything.
Right.
And then his special, I think it was Live at Radio City, he did a bit about Donald Trump, where the whole premise was Donald Trump being president is like a horse being loose in a hospital. And it's hilarious. Like, the whole premise of it is just like, nobody knows what he's going to do there, let alone the horse. He's never been in a hospital. And it was just that perfect take where it's like, I'm sure there were Trump supporters, which Mulaney clearly is not, that still also thought this is a funny bit because Donald Trump's the horse in the hospital.
Yeah.
And that was a perfect, unique take from someone that doesn't do political comedy. Like, John Mulaney's not Bill Maher or Louis Black or, even more recently Russell Brand and people like that have very political takes.
Right.
But that was perfect. I like the complaining about social justice coming from Chris Rock. I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, you're fully allowed to do that.
Yeah, but it's...
I'm not going to poo-poo anyone's life experiences or what they've been through, but it doesn't seem fresh or new to me.
It doesn't seem like he has much to do with it.
No.
Other than notice that his rich friends are getting in trouble, and he's
Isn't
like...
that a bummer?
What's that?
Don't you hate it when your rich friends get in trouble?
He's like, you woke mobs going after my rich friend Elon Musk. Guess what? He gets his pee-pee sucked.
Yeah.
And it's like, calm down, dude. Go back to being... your controversial self that was super funny. Please.
It's hard. It's hard being...
So,
I mean, granted, I'm not 60.
I'm not
so I don't
offended
know.
by anything that he did. I was just expecting a hell of a lot more.
Just didn't live up to your expectations.
Yes, because Chris Rock, when I've seen a couple of his stand-ups, and he's an extremely funny guy.
Oh, yeah.
They even had, in the intro, when he was walking in, they were playing old bits of his.
Yeah, from like the Bigger and Blacker and Never Scared days when he was just hilarious.
And it's just like, hey, remember he's funny? Remember? Just go ahead. Just remember.
It's like an old rock band coming out.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah.
So
what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? It's too late for Chris Rock. He should just do movies now.
Well, also, he should get millions of dollars if people are offering him millions of dollars.
He got like $40 million for this thing. Yeah. You don't need any more money.
Yeah, but he also got it.
But also, good job.
Yeah.
Get your money.
Why not? Like, at the end of the day, go get your money. I think Chris Rock was a perfect person to do it because he's enough of a name, and it's a big comeback, quote unquote, special for him. Because I don't know.
And apparently, he blamed Jada Pinkett Smith for
yeah.
being slapped.
Yeah,
it was just big man move. Big man move.
It's whatever. The last special he did was on Netflix. It was called Tambourine, and I like that one a lot more. That was directed by Bo Burnham. Directed it.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's really nice shot. And granted, this didn't look great because it was live.
Yeah,
like it's hard to get the production quality out of a live thing.
I think they edited it.
I'm kind of curious if what they did because another comedian who just recently did something live was Louis C.K. He did live from Madison Square Garden. And I watched it, and it was fine. But then what he also did is 3 weeks before that, he filmed an actual special. And he's going to release that on his website as well. The live thing is like it's available for 2 weeks, and then it's deleted, like, or you can't get it. Like, you can only watch it for a limited amount of time. And that's the beauty of live things. Because, like, we've both been in comedy shows. How do you recreate a live comedy show?
Yeah.
It's damn near impossible. There's nothing like it. I remember comedy shows laughing as hard as I've ever laughed in my entire life.
Yeah.
I saw Tom Segura the last time he toured comedy clubs. He was at the DC Improv. He does theaters and arenas and stuff now. But I was sitting to where I could touch the front of the stage at the DC Improv, and I was hyperventilating from laughing so hard. But it's something that you're crammed in with 500 other people, and everyone's laughing, and it just becomes this weird mob mentality of everyone having a good time.
Yeah, it's good energy. It's
and
like a party.
I'm sitting on my couch, I could watch those same jokes and just go,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's rough for comedy to recreate it. But, good for Netflix for taking a swing.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't think I'd ever watch a band that's like,
No, I don't know. Other than sporting events, I have no idea what they could do live. That would be interesting.
But
because you could have watched, a pre-recorded stand-up show.
Exactly.
It'd be the exact same
Your
thing.
experience watching it yesterday is probably very similar to my experience.
Exactly.
Being like, I got to be home to stay up and
exactly.
watch this.
And I was like, I'll just wake up tomorrow morning and then I'll just watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I was like, it's a cool idea, but also it was
a lot of hype, a lot of build-up. Yeah. It's what it is.
So there you go.
We're not recommending Chris Rock to anybody.
No, I wouldn't recommend it.
Watch it if you want to. You're already paying for Netflix, probably.
But
it's not going to change your life.
It's not.
No.
It's nothing.
No. All right. Well, we're done with that. So let's get into what the show is really about. It's not complaining about comedy like we've ever, created anything close to what Chris Rock does.
Yeah.
What Chris Rock does on an off day, we won't do ever. But it's content. What are you going to do?
Oh my God.
And Chris Rock, if you want to come on the podcast and defend yourself, you're welcome down in the basement.
I will slap the shit out of you.
To be fair, we only have 2 microphones, so you're going to have to share with somebody. And you can't drop them like you like doing at the end because I can't afford to buy more at the moment. So let's get into what we're going to talk about first, which is an episode, my recommendation for Jake, an episode of the podcast Camp Gagnon. Which was hosted by comedian Mark Gagnon. It was his episode where he interviews William Trubridge. I just pulled up a thing for Mark Gagnon, and it's a Canadian short track speed skater. That's hard to say. Short track speed
Oh,
skater. Not the
okay.
Mark Gagnon I wanted.
There's another Gagnon.
It's a French-Canadian name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's Canadian.
I think his family's French-Canadian and whatever.
So I see.
Yeah. So his podcast, Camp Gagnon, he interviews different people every time. Usually some people that he finds interesting, funny stories, like people that have been in prison, people that have been, one guy that was held hostage by the Taliban. Just really interesting stories, like crypto people. And it's a sit-down, one-on-one interview format podcast, which is one of my favorite types of podcasts to listen to. Like, I do enjoy shit like what we do, which is the same two, three people talking all the time.
Right.
But when you have someone who's a really good interviewer putting on a different person every time is really
Just
great.
listening to a good interview.
And I think Mark has a really good outlook. One of the things that I brought up last week, my favorite thing about him is how curious he is.
Yeah.
And he definitely
That's
seems
very true.
He's the type of person that if he's into something, he's gonna deep dive on it. And he's a kid. He's in his 20s or something
And
like that.
he does his research pretty well.
He's 26.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Good dude. And William Trubridge, his person that he interviewed, is a free diver, current world champion and world record holder from New Zealand.
Yep.
Kiwi, love the accent. It's a great accent.
And,
it's top 5 accents.
You think?
Top 5 English-speaking accents, for sure. What's better?
I've never ranked them.
English?
Ever.
All right, well, let's do it now.
Scottish is probably my
That's
favorite.
top 5?
Yeah. I love it.
Dude.
It's so
All right, so you got
wonderful.
Scottish, Kiwi.
And I'm just going to have to go with my friends. I have a Scottish friend. I love it when I speak
love
with her.
a Canadian accent.
I have a Romanian friend. I love it when I speak with her. It's very...
Savannah, Georgia's a good accent.
yes. Super long drawl out south.
Yeah, people
accents.
who do declare.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Cast of the Vapors comes through. That's the good stuff.
It's not a bad one.
Yeah.
We digress.
Anyway,
so he's from New Zealand.
Noticed
and
that we
he's
didn't say New Zealand at all during our
No, I said
accent
New
stuff.
Zealand up front.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah. Kiwis are great. And so he's a free diver, and Mark interviewed him. So
free diving is straight up. They just swim downward as far as they can go.
And William talks about this, like some people do it with fins, and some people are just goggles.
Yeah. And some people actually use this big board that they just ride on and see
Yes.
how deep it goes.
And it's no tank, no nothing. And they're going down. I think Trubridge was actually the first guy to ever go deeper than 100 meters.
Yeah.
Which is a football field.
Yeah.
Down.
Yep.
Fuck.
Over 300 feet. Yeah. And it's...
I definitely couldn't swim a football field in one breath.
Yeah.
Not going down.
Yeah. And I couldn't...
Like across a football field. Like I'm a decent swimmer. You know, I'm Florida boy. I can swim pretty well. Don't laugh. It's a serious statement. I could not swim 100 meters underwater.
No way.
Let alone going down. Because then
no
you have
way.
to come up. So really you're swimming 600 or 200 meters.
What I couldn't fathom how deep that is.
Fathom.
You know.
That's a deep sea. How big
Oh
is
my
fathom?
gosh. Oh, I have no idea.
All right, keep talking. I'm going to Google that.
So I couldn't fathom, I don't want to say it again, how deep that really is, you know, and like how hard that is, because I don't really swim that much, even though I enjoy it. But since Gagnon's really good at what he does, like I really understood, because the freediver just kept talking about it. He's like, your lungs compress the further down you go. And
Terrifying.
he's like, they're like the size of like baseballs after a while. And he's like, and you're just still trying to hold in whatever you can from it.
Yeah.
And he's like, and there's just this gas buildup that you have that's just telling your brain, you need to breathe, you need to do something.
God, I hate that part.
Just hearing all that stuff, I was like, okay, that sounds awful.
It sounds like the worst thing ever.
Yeah. So,
But the way William Trubridge
And
describes it is how peaceful it is for him.
yeah,
Like his brain just stops.
the other thing is, he's down there like 8 minutes. You know, that's insane to me. That's
It's absurd.
impossible.
Yeah.
yeah. But that's what he has to do, and that's what he does. So that stuff was very interesting. But then it got even more interesting to me.
Okay.
Do you have Fathom?
Yeah, it's 6 feet.
6 feet?
I'm a fathom.
Fathom of the Opera.
Stop it.
That was great.
That was all right. All right. All right, I'll give you that one.
Well, it got even more interesting when they started talking about the breathing.
Right, which is No offense. I didn't give you this because I thought you'd be interested in freediving.
Yeah, no problem.
Clearly. I wanted to introduce you to Mark because I do like him. And
he seems like a good kid.
He's going to be a good kid. Like he's got his head on a swivel for how young he is. Like he's going to be fucking huge.
I look forward to anything that he does.
Yeah.
I'll watch one of his specials if he makes one.
He hasn't made one yet. I mean, he performs. Are you familiar with Andrew Schultz?
No.
Andrew Schultz is a good comedian.
Charles Schultz's kid?
No.
Peanut heir?
The heir to the peanuts, yes. But he's a comedian. He has a podcast, and Mark came up, like, I think Mark started opening for Andrew and then moved him up to New York from Florida, like, when he was, like, 22. And, he just sits on the couch. He's one of the third guys on the podcast, and he's just very sharp, very funny.
Okay, cool.
One of those guys that gets a zinger in every now and again. It just fucking nails it. Like, that was
one of those. Yeah. One of those types.
He can chime in. And he's great in that scenario, but he's also really good on these podcasts. So it was a twofer that I wanted to recommend you.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you think before we get more into William Trubridge, let's finish up on Mark. You think you'll listen to more of his podcasts, his interviews?
I don't know.
It
probably depends on
who's on there.
The guest.
Yes.
Because it's stuff that does feel like a little clickbaity.
Yes.
Where the title of this thing is like freediver almost dies.
Yeah.
And it's like
all caps.
That's about 3 to 4 minutes of the whole podcast.
Yeah.
And they talk about so more interesting stuff, and
it's right at the tail end. That's when he starts talking about the slap with Will Smith. Like he teases it right at the beginning.
That's very true.
This goes back kind of to our Lost episode. We talked about Mr. Beast and how Mr. Beast knows the science of what to make a thumbnail look like, what the title should be, what viewer retention is going to be, your drop off is going to be this after 40 seconds, and yada yada yada.
Did you see how people are mad at Mr. Beast again?
Why? What did he do now?
He made chocolate bars, right? And
the Beastables.
Yeah, and they're on Walmart shelves. And he sent out a tweet saying, "Hey, guys, if you see my chocolate bars looking rough on the shelves, could you straighten them up for me?" And people are taking pictures of them straightening them up and being like, "Mr. Beast, we did it for you." Yeah. And everybody's like, "You're just using kids for, free labor."
What?
Yeah.
That's what would be Walmart doing it for free.
Exactly. You're just helping out Walmart staff not having to do it.
Jesus.
God. I don't get why people are upset with this.
This is why Chris Rock's so upset about this culture. You know what? I agree with Chris.
I get it that it feels like Mr. Beast is using his fan base to, bolster his own career.
Right.
But also, the kids don't have to do it if they don't want to.
No, but they want to because they want him to notice them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not hard to straighten out a shelf. So it's not that crazy.
This sounds like a guy who's worked retail.
Yeah,
Straighten out the fucking shelf.
Oh my gosh.
Why are all the labels facing out?
I have to follow them. It's like, is that a king size Snickers or is that a regular size Snickers?
Mr. Beast.
What is it doing in the king size Snickers box?
That one has almonds, you piece of shit. What's it doing here with the regular ones?
It's blue. It's blue and you're putting it with the browns?
Sorry, Milky Way Midnight? This look like a Milky Way Midnight box to you?
I wish I could be so mean. That would be so much better job.
God damn it.
It's okay, though. Oh, I digress.
Anyway.
I digress. It's a small part of it.
Yes.
But I could get it because if you just say
it's what you do. There's a science behind it that we don't get.
It's a free diver. Yeah. It's not going to be that interesting to you other than he's got a pretty cool story about when he was free diving once.
And that's
it's
why
a
he
very
has
interesting story.
that little clip at the beginning, which we actually tried to do on our missing it, the
Lost
tapes.
Tried.
Yeah. That was a dumb bit that I had planned. So yeah, Mark, if there's someone else on, you'll listen to it.
Yeah, if there's somebody else that's interesting,
I'll shoot you a text and be like, hey, check this one.
Yeah, and I'll probably be like, oh yeah, that's cool.
So William Trubridge, going back to him,
yes.
He has some good stuff for breathing exercises, and I think one of the things Mark asked him about, which also was probably the most fascinating part for me, it's like, how do you stop from just freaking out and losing your fucking mind when you're that far underwater? I think I broke this while I was just thinking around with it.
Don't even worry about it.
God damn it.
Throw it away.
It's going to make more sense when we get these video cameras.
Oh my God. He's messing with something until it broke while we're supposed to be talking.
It's late at night. I had some caffeine, so I wouldn't be sleepy on the podcast. It maybe backfire. So
Trubridge.
The way he deals with going underwater, because we've all done this in a pool, how long can you hold your breath?
Yes.
And you're down there for 30 seconds maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you get that panic in your head. And I thought it was really interesting, something that really resonated with me with William Trubridge. And he's like, your body's lying to you.
Yeah.
It's like you have plenty of oxygen.
Yeah.
When you feel like you're out of air, you have plenty of oxygen. It's just a buildup of the negative gas.
Yes.
But you're fine.
That was very fascinating to me because it was like, you always think that your body's like, I need air,
Right.
But it's your body being like, I got to get rid of this air that's building up. And I was like, I never thought of it that way.
Right.
So
it's just this, he's like, it's not a lack of oxygen. It's or a surplus of CO2.
Yeah. So that's really wild.
And you can hold it and you're fine.
And so when somebody knows so much about the science of breathing, when he has an opinion about how to breathe, I start listening to that guy to really understand what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Because he's definitely done his research on how to
he's not
how to breathe.
Dead. And he goes underwater for 8 minutes at a time.
As somebody that can hold his breath for so long, he's probably pretty proficient in how to do so.
And I don't know what it is about the way he's speaking. Like, it's just the accent, and also just he's very soft spoken.
Yeah,
he's very measured.
I think he's.
And I'm like, this guy sounds like he could hold his breath for a long time.
He's a very mellow fellow.
Yes, he is.
So even when he was talking about his near-death experience, he was like, "Yeah, they even brought me up to the surface, and it took about a minute before I could start breathing on my own,
and then I had to go back down."
Yeah, it's like, and then I just wanted to get back into the water. My whole family told me I have to do it.
Yeah,
and I was like, "Wow."
Yeah, and he's just very calm, and he talks about dealing it with anxiety and stuff like that with the same breathing techniques and not quite meditation. But just
not even, because he even talks about how it's the science behind it, where his breathing instructions are to start when you breathe in through your nose and fill up your belly.
Yeah, he says a thing about a baby. He's like, you watch a baby breathe, their bellies puff up,
and then you just start.
And we
stop the wrong way.
We stop breathing like that as we get older. Yeah. And you do see babies and little fat bellies get all big.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are we breathing like fat babies? They're always so rested.
So when he's talking about that, he also says that there's chemicals that come out to tell your brain that everything's fine. You still have the fight or flight inside of you, and that's what builds up your anxiety. And if you can just remember how to breathe this way, it's literally giving you chemicals to tell your brain, no, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Your brain's trying to find things to freak out about because you used to be chased by bears, and your body's like, we should be worried about bears around here.
Yeah.
But now your body's like, we should be worried about our 401k because I don't know if I invested in it too soon. And, you don't have to worry about, fight or flight on something like that.
No. And, granted, where we live in our lives, the odds of us getting chased down by a bear, small.
Yeah. Oh, we have a bear in our yard.
Well, it's not a big bear.
It's a black bear.
It's a Virginia black bear. And
it's
not very big.
Yeah. And
you watch out for your trash cans.
It fucks our trash up all the time.
Yeah.
And, if you don't bother it, it's not going to bother you. But there's plenty of times when I get home and everybody's like, hey, bear right in front. So, probably tread carefully.
Yeah. But what he is saying about the anxiety based response from your brain and the way you can just kind of not. I think what was important about what he said is it's something that's becoming more and more prevalent because, no secrets here. You and I have both had anxiety related stuff that we've, made.
I'm on medication for my anxiety.
Right. I used to be on medication for my anxiety as well. And then I think the way he's not saying it, and you brought this the scientific thing. He's not saying it in any kind of therapeutic way. Yeah. He's not saying it as a doctor or
he's
a
not
healer
saying this
or anything.
Is going to solve your anxiety.
And he's not coming from it like I'm trying to sell you a book where dive away your anxiety or anything like that. He doesn't seem like he's trying to make a dollar off of it. No, he's just like, this works for me
exactly
when I'm trying to do something that is I think probably one of the hardest things a human can do.
It's wild.
And he brings that up. It's like, it's the
that.
only sport where you're completely submerged in the ocean realm.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow, he's fucking right. It's terrifying.
And
it gets dark down there too.
Yeah. That's going over 100 meters.
Yeah. It's horrifying. Because it's my nightmare to be down that deep.
The divers that are trying to make sure that you don't die.
Yeah, he says the safety divers go halfway. Yeah, and I'm like, then they're not good safety divers.
They don't go all the way down.
It's not a safety net if it only goes halfway.
But
it's like being on a trapeze and like, oh, we got a safety net. It's 6 inches from the ground, but it's going to catch you when you get right there.
So he even talks, he just talks about how, he needs to work on his breathing because he has to hold his breath really well. And he just noticed that it helped him in his day-to-day as well.
Yes.
And that's, I appreciate that approach to it because he's not trying to solve your anxiety.
No.
He's just trying to tell you, he's like, I noticed that this happened in my life when I started doing my new breathing technique. Mm-hmm. And have you tried it yourself?
I have.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, it's what really spoke to me most was the thing we talked about a little bit earlier with your brain saying you're out of air and you're not. Mm-hmm. And I've, there's a lot of times where your brain's like, oh, you need this. For me, it's like I got a bad sweet tooth.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I make those delicious cookies. So it's like your brain's like, put that inside of you. You're hungry right now, so you need to eat right now. And I've been getting a little bit better at being like, no, that's just dumb brain saying I need it.
Yeah.
You're wrong. So and it's just like the holding your breath thing. It's like you're fine. This will pass. And he doesn't say ignore your anxiety or like you're going to be, which is I think a lot of people our age, not everybody of course, but a lot of people our age, especially men, were taught, if you were having anxiety about something, it's like walk it off, shake it off. You're fine. Just don't worry about it. And the way he says it, the way Trubridge says it is just like recognize it and then say, I'm going to deal with this later. And because when he's 100 feet underwater, you can't start freaking out.
Yeah,
then you'll die. He's like, okay, I'm nervous. I'm running out of air. I will deal with that later.
Yeah, he talks about how he's not nervous when he's diving down, but like right before he's very nervous, and he's like, I'll worry about it when I come back up. And he's like, and by the time I come back up, why am I worried about trying to die when I've dived?
That was the most like right when I heard that, that's when I wanted to talk to you about this. And I was like, that has helped me a lot, where you can just kind of, it's not forget about things or repress things, because you eventually, speaking from experience, you got to deal with everything eventually. Yeah, nothing goes away.
He talked about that too, where he's like, that was the most interesting thing to me, was he started talking about predeterminism.
Yeah, and he went on a real tear about that, where he's just like, so there's no such thing as free will.
Yeah, just out of nowhere. And I'm like, now we're having a philosophical conversation.
Mark had a kind of a weird response to that. He was just like, oh.
Yeah.
So there's no free will?
He was like, yeah, pick a number 1 through 10. And he's like, did you pick that or did your brain pick that? And they're like, oh my God, we're doing philosophy.
Yeah, and then he goes into the neural networking. It's like, no, they hook up neuron transmitters, and it's like, oh, your brain thought of that before you thought of that. And you're like, what?
Yeah, I was like, this is very interesting. I was so happy with this kind of sets turn up, of
like,
events.
You're opposed in opposition to your brain, like your consciousness.
Because he's like, your brain's going to fish out something inside of itself that it wants you to worry about, because your brain's trying to survive.
Yeah.
And it's not, savvy enough to know that everything's okay in the moment.
Right.
So you just have to remind yourself that everything's okay in the moment.
Yeah.
And I was like,
and we could deal with this later.
This is an insane conversation. I thought we were going to talk about dying at 100 meters.
See? I got you with the twofer on this one.
But that's when I was hooked on this episode, because
I think it was great.
Trubridge is a very fascinating man, right? Because he even talks about like his drug experience and how that's helped him learn a little bit. And he was like, he brought up Alan Watts, which is one of my favorite philosophers. And he's like, he just talks about drugs. It's like knocking at the door. He's like, when you get the message, then why do you have to keep knocking on the door after that?
Exactly.
And I was like, dude, you're doing Alan Watts. Yeah. Like, so he's a very interesting fellow. Once he started doing this free will speech and stuff.
Nice.
So I was.
So you're going to try free diving?
Absolutely not. There's no way. I love swimming.
At the end, he does try to get Mark to hold his breath.
Did you? Yeah.
Did you try it?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I even took a screenshot for how long I did it.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. Do you want to guess how long?
When we get the cameras up, we should both try it.
I'll do it, because I'm probably going to practice.
Dude, I practiced so much that day.
Right?
Yeah.
I still would practice.
He has a little countdown, and I will say, listening to, because I think Trubridge talks, if you haven't listened to the podcast, which everyone should go listen to.
He does his breathing technique because it does help you hold your breath longer.
Yeah.
So,
and then
Gagnon's gonna do it, and Trubridge is gonna talk him through it. Yeah.
And he says you could, and the first thing Trubridge says is like, oh, over a day, I could get you to holding your breath for 5 minutes. And I was like, fuck you. There's no way.
He's like, probably within the first couple of hours.
I would have been
to do 2.5 minutes.
I would have been the coolest kid at the middle school pool party if I could hold my breath for 5 minutes.
Back up.
It would just be like 5 minutes, and it'd be like, the tubby kid's dead.
Right now. This water's too murky to know
what happened. The kid with his shirt on is dead at the bottom of the pool. But it's just me for 5 minutes of it. But yeah, he talks through it. And I think Gagnon gets up to like almost over 2 minutes.
He does 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With no testing or anything like that. I think I got like to like a minute. And I was just shocked because
a minute's good.
And I felt the thing where it's like your brain's like this and
your body starts convulsing from holding.
Yeah, I didn't go that far, but
I went that far.
I didn't go that far.
Yeah.
I'll never go that far.
It was just a normal thing. You held your breath for a minute before you even started doing that?
Yeah, I think so.
You could probably go much longer than me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I made it to a minute and 11, and I'm a smoker.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that was pretty damn good.
It's not bad.
But I also tried it without listening to Trubridge, like, talk you through it.
Not as good.
45 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. All right, man. Well, what are you rating this?
I will give it shoot. I want to give it a 2 because I don't know if I'll listen to it again, but I'll probably give it a 3 just because this was a good episode. Yeah. I would honestly offer it up as just a curio for people to listen to if you're not even interested in the podcast itself.
You give it a 2... A 3 for this particular episode, but a 2 for
as
the
a podcast
overall.
Because there's so many podcasts like this. But Gagnon is a good interviewer, and Trubridge is a very interesting character.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself just wanting to listen to something, I would check this out because they do have really good conversations in there.
Yeah, I would say if you want a good episode of a podcast to listen to, definitely listen to this one. It's one of those things like Andrew Huberman.
No, you keep bringing up these people. I have no idea who you're talking about.
He's a doctor and a podcaster. I don't listen. He has this thing called Huberman Labs where he's all about being healthy and shit like that. Mm-hmm. And I don't listen to his podcast all the time, but he has one episode of a podcast where he talks about just like the chemical ways that alcohol affects your body.
Yeah,
not like a preachy way or anything like that. He's like, hey, as a fucking scientist, this is what happens.
Is what's.
And it's fascinating, but I don't listen to his podcast all the time. But I do recommend that one episode to people because it's very
That's
interesting.
how I would say.
Yeah.
The episode gets a 3. The podcast
we'll call it
style.
A 2. We'll call it a 2.
We'll call it a 2?
Yeah.
So we'll call it a 2. But if you're going to want to check it out, definitely check out this episode. That was really good.
And if you listen to this episode, and again, that's
Camp Gagnon.
Camp Gagnon is the podcast. That's Gagnon. And it's the most recent episode. It came out the 28th or 27th of February, 2023.
It says freediver almost dies.
William Trubridge is the person he interviews. And if you like it, tell Mark Gagnon that Up Your Alley podcast sent you. Or don't. I don't care. All right, so let's move on. I'll take my 2, and we'll go into what Jacob recommended for me, which is a YouTube video.
Yeah.
Long one, 2 hours.
2 hours long.
From the YouTuber Grimbeard, and it's I'll call it a retrospective.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to call it.
Of the video game Deus Ex.
Yes, sir.
And Deus Ex came out in 2000.
Yep, 2000.
You see how I did that? I was like 2000.
And
for... I think it was originally just on...
originally on PC, and then it had a port for the PS2 after a while.
Okay. Yeah. Why'd you recommend this for me, Jacob? It's another kind of twofer thing, because you're kind of recommending Grimbeard, and you're kind of recommending Deus Ex.
Well, I thought you played Deus Ex, which was embarrassing on my part.
No.
But I would think you would be into this type of game, because it's...
Oh, yeah.
It's an immersive sim, which is
fascinating to me.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And it's a very philosophical game.
Yes.
What I would say, which is there's a lot of stuff that you can do, and there's a lot of ramifications for the actions that you choose.
Yeah.
And it's really more interesting than like having a moral meter, like in Fallout, where it's like, oh, you did an evil thing, so you got an evil point. That's one evil point for you. You slapped a child. That's one evil point.
Or like in... take it back to Red Dead Redemption like we always do. You shoot a townsfolk and your honor level goes down.
Yeah,
but
just like, that's one evil point. You shot a bad guy in front of its child.
If you haven't played the game, Deus Ex came out with the role-playing game. It's first person. It's set in cyberpunk future.
New York, where
all the conspiracy theories are actually real. There's Illuminati, and the story is bonkers. Like everyone should check out this video even if you haven't played the game. Yeah. And I will say that as someone who hadn't played the game.
Yeah.
The video super entertaining.
Yes,
I'll get this out of the way. Grimbeard, he gets a 3. This was
cool.
Great.
So thank you.
Yeah.
The cool thing is, like, this story is very dense, and there's a lot to unpack about it. And Grimbeard sums it up really well. He's like, "What if, like, cops were computers?
Yeah.
What if the government was run by, I don't know, computers?"
And Grimbeard does talk about this as well. The game is it came out in 2000. Matrix was 1999, and I didn't know this is what Elon Musk used as his avatar for so long. Like, they brought that up, and I was just like, oh, that's where that's from.
Yeah, and he has
a guy with sunglasses and trench coat, and you play this guy who's got
Elon Musk doesn't
cybernetic.
understand he would be the bad guy in this
and
game.
Puts that out.
It's unfucking believable.
But so you got cybernetic implants, and you get
it's in a world
weapons
where
and stuff.
Body augmentation is easy to do.
Right.
Well, it's available now. Like it'll even happen to you against your own will if they like need to replace your heart or something.
Yeah, fascinating cyberpunk world.
JC Denton is a nano augmented person, which means he's just got thousands of tiny little robots inside of his body that give him super strength or see in the dark and things like that. And he's representing the new guard of what is capable of man. Right. And the old guard, people that are heavily augmented, are like, this asshole is taking over our jobs. And it takes place in a future where a disease is spreading throughout the world that's killing everybody, the Gray Death. Yeah, right. And the vaccine for it, which people are trying to willingly take in this, is just too rare that people don't even believe that it exists to begin with.
Yep.
And you play...
This is a video game that we're talking about.
Yes, right. And you play a cop for UNATCO, which is like the police for the world.
Yeah, it's like the world is all together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you are trying to stop this terrorist organization that are taking the shipments of the vaccine. And while you're doing this, the terrorists are even talking to you. Just like, do you have any idea like who you're working for and what they're doing? And you're goody two shoes. You're just like, you shut the fuck up, dude. I'm gonna slap you around a little bit.
Yeah, he's a company man for a while. And so as someone who hasn't played this game before, it looked like, and they talk about it in the video, there's a bunch of different paths you could take. It seems very immersive, especially for the time. Like,
it's one of
graphics aside, if you had just told me the story of this game and a lot of things, it has a lot of Fallout vibes to the way it's set up, the newer Fallouts.
Yes.
Definitely things like Elder Scrolls, the fully immersive RPGs where you can, change it up a lot. And that's
a lot of game developers talk about how they're very inspired,
very influential.
By, Deus Ex.
You know why I didn't play this game?
Huh.
Because I remembered seeing ads for it, and I remember seeing it in stores.
Yeah.
And it looked just like Perfect Dark to me. So I was just like, I've played Perfect Dark.
Yeah.
Perfect Dark came out before this.
That's a cyberpunk.
I Googled it before. Perfect Dark came out before this.
Yeah. It was on the Nintendo 64.
It sure was. It came out in May, and this game came out in later on that year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Everyone was trying to do the Matrix.
Yeah.
Like, the Matrix changed everything.
They changed the whole game.
Yeah.
Because
it was all trench coats and sunglasses for a while. It's like, remember after the Bourne Identity came out, and then every action movie was like, shaky cam, I'm going to hit you with a magazine stuff for a couple years, and then Avatar came out, and then everything was 3D for a while. The Matrix came out, and everything was trench coats and cyberpunk for a while.
Yeah, heavily influenced on this game.
I will say, I think this game looks very interesting. I don't know if I'll ever play it.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot.
It's pretty, like, the way I like to play it is stealthily, and I like to talk to people.
Yeah.
But you can also play it as a big asshole that just kills people.
I wanted to talk to you about that aspect of it, because this is not to talk about Metal Gear again, but that's where you and I kind of differ on Metal Gear games, is you try to not kill anybody.
Yeah.
I'm killing everybody.
Yeah.
As soon as I get the Nikita missile launcher, it's lights out for you guys.
See, we're on different sides of the coin on this one.
Absolutely.
Because I love taking my time, being patient, and just getting as much information as possible out of everything. Right. And you don't have to do that. Even when they're trying to talk to you about the main story, when they're like, yeah, like, you're actually working for the bad guys, you just blow them up. You just blow up the person that's talking to you. And the game's like, oh, look what you did. All right. So we need you in Hong Kong.
Let's all just readjust for a moment. Yeah. And it did seem like, and correct me if I'm wrong, because, again, I haven't played the game. Like, it seems pretty immersive for that time specifically. Like, there weren't, like, Perfect Dark. Again, I love Perfect Dark. Yeah. Granted, that was working on Nintendo 64 with the expansion pack, which did something. Yeah. I was told.
More RAM.
When I bought, all the RAM you could ever want. More RAM than you could.
It went up to 512 megabytes of RAM.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot. I'm not the tech guy. But it was definitely more immersive than that just from looking at it. Like, you didn't have really dialogue trees.
You don't have, like, set levels, per se. Most levels are hubs.
Yeah.
Where it's a place to explore and things are happening around you.
Right. You're not loading up a mission. Yeah. And it's just like, oh, you're doing this thing right now.
Yeah. And the thing that sets this game apart that every game tries to emulate but still can't capture is the consequences of your choices.
Yeah.
When you do something, it affects the game, you know.
I will say a game that this reminded me of a little bit is another game you turned me on to, which was Mass Effect. I had never played Mass Effect until...
Oh, yeah. I love Mass Effect.
And Mass Effect, there are choices that you make in the first game that if you play the second game or the third game, choices that you made back in the first game affect your save file on the third game when you get to it.
But Deus Ex goes further affecting the game, where... like something like Mass Effect will probably just reference a choice that you made 2
or
games
someone's
ago.
dead because you chose to kill them in Mass Effect.
I really missed that alien that you killed 2 games ago. And you're
Big Krogan guy.
Yeah. Oh,
Rex.
I love him. Rex.
Yeah.
But
spoilers for Mass Effect for some reason.
One of the things that I would critique about Mass Effect is when you do something good, you only have this choice. You know, do you want to do a good thing or a bad thing? And here's your good point or here's your bad point.
Yeah.
Where Deus Ex is like, you know,
gray area.
It doesn't. It's not going to tell you if it was moral or not. It doesn't care. It's just like here's what happened because of the choice that you made, and that's the stuff that I find really fun. Because if I want to play a game, I want to play as a good guy. You know, regardless of the points that I'm going to get, I like being the good guy. So I don't think we need this type of morality scale to tell you how good or bad you are, but your choices should show what you've done.
Yeah.
You know?
So you don't like seeing the Paragon Renegade scale.
Yeah.
Or like...
It just doesn't feel
some
necessary.
games that'll change your like facial features something. Like I know they did this in I guess kind of like Knights of the Old Republic. But it really was like, you know, the more Sithy you got in Knights of the Old Republic or you got like weirder looking and the more Jedi you got, it was whatever. But I do see what you're saying is that was kind of like a binary choice.
Yeah.
And at the end of Knights of the Old Republic, you have a decision where you can either choose to save someone or kill someone. And it doesn't matter what you're doing in the previous game. Like that choice makes up your ending. And it's pretty obvious. Like, do you want to do this really shitty thing or do you want to do this nice thing?
You typically get bottlenecked in those games to start making just one big choice.
And it seems like this game just keeps spreading out.
Deus Ex tries its best not to bottleneck you into something. It does do it every once in a while, but it doesn't really try it at all. It really wants you to explore however you want to play the game.
Yeah.
I played it one time, and
how many times have you played it through? Out of curiosity,
I've played it about. I play it almost every year, but
really?
I've probably beaten it about 8 times.
It's your Red Dead Redemption 2.
I don't know. It's one of my favorite games. I think it's one of the best games ever made. But it's just worth playing it over and over again because the modding community is amazing. They always make really cool things that you can do with it, and there's always secrets that I haven't found that are in this game.
So with all the times, let's say probably 10 times you've played it through?
Yeah, 8 times maybe.
Okay. So you're still finding new shit all the time?
All the time.
Or you're watching someone's YouTube video about it and you're like, oh, I didn't know that.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's definitely one of those games that I would say, I mean, it goes on sale for like $5 every once in a while. You don't really have a good computer for it. So I don't know.
I got a computer now. Just got one in the mail.
But you got a MacBook.
Sorry.
You can't play no games on no Mac. I don't know. Maybe you can.
I have no idea, man.
If you can, and it goes on sale for like $5, I would say definitely pick it up because you might.
Can I get it on PS4?
No, I don't think so. No. Balls. You don't want the PS2 version anyway because it has cut content on that one.
Yeah, okay. So we can talk about the game looks amazing, but we'll talk about the YouTube video a little bit.
Yes, we should probably get into Grimbeard.
Yeah, so I
wanted to get you into that.
That guy's fucking great.
Yeah.
His sense of humor is fantastic. So he sets it up like he's making a review of this video, and then he gets contacted by this program named Chad.
Yeah.
Which I think that was all made with voice clips from the game, right?
Yeah, he
the
mashes
main characters.
voice clips together so that he says really weird things.
Right. And
it's
it looks
J.C. Denton's character
named
repurposed as Chad.
And it's just hysterical. And the way Grimbeard, what's his thing? Goth Gamer Nation, something like that.
What's up, Goth Gamer Nation?
Yeah. And so he does a bunch of other games. Like I'm just looking at his YouTube channel now. Fallout.
Yeah.
Just things, vampire games, Lovecraftian games. So it's it's goth shit.
Yeah.
And this kind of fits like cyberpunk goth, kind of hand in hand.
He does a lot of goth stuff. Yeah. And he talks about
but hilarious.
But
like the video's really well made, and it's 2 hours long, but it's an hour of that is about the game, and the rest of it he talks about going into the development, the history of the game. It started out as this. Like that,
where he breaks down the history and then the gameplay, the story, the gameplay, and then the bitter recompense. I thought you would enjoy that too.
Yeah, and he's fantastic. Like I'll definitely watch more of his stuff. Yeah. Like I think he told me the game Breakdown you wanted me to watch.
Headhunter, because that's the one that I started on with his channel.
Yeah, because I fell asleep watching that last night. Like I put it up on my phone and then I fell asleep. But
I was watching because I was just scrolling through YouTube and I saw the picture of Headhunter, and if you know what I'm talking about, which probably like one or two people know that listen to this podcast, it's an iconic photo of just this white guy with sunglasses. And I saw that on my YouTube, and I was like, that's Headhunter?
Yeah.
And I was like, I haven't seen that in like 10 years. And so I watched the video just because I was like, who has something to say about Headhunter? And it was very funny, and I was like, this is great. So I just watched all of his videos, and he's hilarious. He's so good at it.
It's definitely,
he's got
borrow a phrase, it's right up my alley. Like, this guy's fantastic.
He does great skits, and he has great recurring bits. He has a stuffed pug that he has rigged up to look for paranormal anomalies.
Yeah.
And now he uses it just as his friend.
Yeah.
And
it's definitely great. Like, he 100% on board with Grimbeard.
All his skits are in first person, which I think is very fun as well.
And he's somewhat like, what's the fucking thing he said? And he's talking about how there are different ways to go about the game. And he's like, then you have to escape with all these guards. And then he had like gone through and knocked them all out ahead. And he said something to the effect of like, good thing I like bonking.
He's like, they didn't prepare for my love of bonking folk on the head.
Yeah, he's very great. Very charming for Goth Gamer Nation.
Yeah.
Very charming.
He finds those little things in video games that are silly, and he just enjoys them rather than like criticizes it for them. Because you have to get into the docks, one mission in Deus Ex, and one of the things is you can go to a bar and meet this guy, Vinny, and he's like, you just befriend him, and you say, hey, like, Vinny says I can get into the docks. But you hear the alarms blaring, and, like, soldiers are running all over the place, and then people still stop and be like, hey, you know Vinny!
Yeah. It's worth a watch. Like, definitely check out Grimbeard.
Definitely check out Grimbeard.
Easy 3. Great wreck, Jake.
Wonderful.
Double 3, or no. Oh, we're tied up
2-3.
now.
Back to tied up.
Oh, 38.
Nice. We're so good at this.
All right. Well, let's start wrapping up the show. First of all, please tell a friend about the show. Rate and review the show on whatever podcast platform you're doing. Follow us on Instagram at upyouralleypod. Send us an email to upyouralleypod@gmail.com, and we have an email.
Woo!
Yeah.
We're doing it.
This is from Adam.
Huh.
Adam up in New York. I know Adam. He's a good kid.
Cool.
Adam says...
hi, Adam.
Well, he doesn't say that.
Hi, Adam. I'm saying hi to Adam.
Okay. Adam says, howdy, Jake and Taylor. A video game that has had such a great concept but limited exposure due to it being made by an indie developer is Splitgate. Have you ever heard of Splitgate?
Splitgate. I have heard of it. I have seen stuff about it. It's very intriguing. Yeah. So is he going to give us a recommendation to play it?
Knowing both you and Jake were in your teens through young adulthood in the prime years of Halo Online multiplayer, and most likely having nostalgia for the Portal series as well, it blends the two perfectly.
Yes. I have played Splitgate.
Free-to-play, PvP, team deathmatch, FPS. Wow.
Awesome game.
With Portal gun on your opposite shooting arm, changing positions immediately.
It's
sometimes
really
brain-breaking due to having to figure out where the hell someone just killed you from. But the devs tried to make it fun and goofy and took some of the sweatiness out by offering game modes where you have giant cartoonish heads and unlimited boosters to fly around the map. Another mode of melee weapons only. Hope you check it out. Try not to throw your controller like I do when I play Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
P.S. The Pepper cover by Keller and the Keels kicks ass. He was the one that recommended that cover when we were talking about it.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Thanks, Adam.
All right, thanks for writing in, Adam. Yeah, I'll check out Splitgate.
Did you ever play Halo?
Oh, yeah.
And did you ever play Portal?
Yes.
Okay.
Love Portal.
So Halo with Portal. That's what
Sounds
Splitgate
great.
is.
Yeah.
It's amazingly fun.
Can we play each other on it?
Yeah, of course.
Can we do it with the capture card that I'm
We
getting?
have to do it on PC, I still believe. We'll have to take a look into that because I'm not sure.
But thanks for writing in, Adam.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Other people should write in.
We should get him if we can get Taylor to play Splitgate. That'd be fun. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Sweet.
We'll definitely
Good rec, though. Great rec.
Great rec. Thanks for writing in, Adam. Yeah, again, you guys just send your emails into upyouralleypod@gmail.com. We love hearing from people. We are going to record next week our Bunraku episode.
Sweet.
First listener rec. And then maybe Splitgate will be our second listener rec. Or the clown
I want to
movie.
do clown movie.
Yeah, we'll do the clown movie for the second one. So let's wrap up and talk about what we're going to be talking about next week. Jake, what do you have for me for next week?
This one, I am pushing the boundaries.
Fucking
hardcore.
All right, go for it.
I am excited to... You brought up philosophy in your recommendation last time.
Okay.
This time, I'm going to make you watch Waking Life.
Waking Life.
Yes.
That's the rotoscoped.
Yep, 2001 Richard Linklater. Okay, 3, 2, 1. That's the 2001 Richard Linklater film.
Is it 2001 or 2003?
I'm pretty sure it's 2004.
You said all the things. Yeah. So that's a movie. I've never actually sat down and watched it.
Yeah.
I think I've told people I've seen it.
If you do drugs, do some drugs and watch this movie.
I don't do drugs.
Start
I don't think
drugs.
that's the message we should put out there.
I'm just giving it. If
How about
anybody can pressure Taylor into doing drugs,
not going to do it. How about I have a Coca-Cola Zero Sugar? Because that gets me feeling pretty nice.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of talking in this, and it's a lot of philosophy.
I definitely seen parts of this, but I couldn't tell you a thing about it.
A certain Alex Jones has an appearance in this fucking movie.
Maybe that's what I've heard about it recently. Yeah,
and it's wild, but I really enjoy this movie.
Okay,
and I mean, I'm gonna watch it again. I'm gonna take notes because this is gonna be hefty.
All right, fine. Yeah, definitely.
Hell yeah.
I definitely couldn't tell you a thing about it. I'm sure I've seen most of it, but it was fucking 15 years ago.
It's amazing and just wild, and drugs actually help, I would have to say.
All right, well, we'll see if it can... It should be a great recommendation. Oh, by the way, you have to be really high to enjoy this thing.
It's not...
That's how people end up with Grateful
helps.
Dead tattoos.
Be upset about Grateful Dead being great.
I will. All right, so where do you watch that?
HBO Max.
HBO Max. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll check that out. For you, I have a show that I'm recommending tonight, even though only the first 2 episodes are out right now.
Ooh.
It's coming out 1 episode every night all this week.
Oh, okay.
It is on Hulu. It is Mel Brooks' History of the World Part 2.
Okay, cool.
I've seen the first 2 episodes.
Yeah?
And
going good?
And I think it's one of those things you and I had talked about not wanting to or you don't like things that are in the cultural zeitgeist.
Yes.
This is great.
It's not that I don't like it. It's just that I never really partake.
I know. That's why I have to make you do things
Yes.
that are culturally relevant, because you're making me watch a drug movie from the early 2000s and
Yeah,
watching
right?
YouTube videos about a movie or a video game, a weird cyberpunk thing. It's
Yeah,
like,
right?
Jake, we got to get in the fucking algorithm, dude.
Do something. Yeah.
But also, it's just great, and I want to talk about Mel Brooks, because Mel Brooks is in it. Like, he's
great.
fucking 90 years old, still kicking around.
I'm in.
Yeah,
I'm very
so that's
excited.
on Hulu.
Thank you for making me do this.
As of recording, it'll be, or as when this is released on Friday, they'll have all of them out.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, definitely check that out on Hulu. History of the World Part 2. I will watch Waking Life. Mm-hmm. So once again, just be sure to leave us a review. Tell a friend about the podcast. Follow us on Instagram at upyouralleypod. Send us an email to upyouralleypod@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And
forget the expletive.
Yeah, don't put that in there. Or try, see what happens. Thanks for listening. And my name is Taylor Edgar. With me has been Jake Baggett. Say bye to the people, Jake.
Bye-bye.
Love you, brother. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, bud.